Before she knew any better, Florence Nightingale was fearless. There's a little drawing done sometime in her early childhood. An aunt captured Florence walking with her mother and her sister when she was maybe 4 years old. Her older sister clings to her mother's hand. Meanwhile, Florence independently stumps along by herself with that wonderful, innocent confidence some children have. She didn't need to be safe. She didn't care what anyone else thought. There was so much to see, so much to explore. But sadly, this independence was not to last. Maybe someone told her that the world was a dangerous place. Maybe it was that imperceptible but crushing pressure of the times which said that girls should behave a certain way. Maybe it was the luxury of her privileged existence which softened her sense of what she was capable of. Each of us has had some version of this conversation when an adult does us this cruel injustice, whatever their intentions of puncturing our little bubble. They think they are preparing us for the future when really they're just foisting upon us their own fears, their own limitations. Oh, what this costs us, and what courage it deprives the world, as it nearly went for Florence Nightingale. On February 7th, 1837, at age 16, she was to get what she would later refer to as the call. To what, to where, and how? All she could feel was that it was a mysterious word from on high which imparted to her the sense that something was expected of her, that she was to be of service, to commit to something different than the life of her rich and indolent family, something different than the constraining and underwhelming roles available to women at that time. Somewhere inside us we hear a voice, Pat Tillman would say as he considered leaving professional football to join the Army Rangers. Our voice leads us in the direction of the person we wish to become, but it is up to us whether or not to follow. More times than not, we are pointed in a predictable, straightforward, and seemingly positive direction. However, occasionally we are directed down a different path entirely. You might think that a brave girl like Florence Nightingale would be primed to listen to that voice, but like so many of us, she had internalized the beliefs of her time, becoming a scared teenager who could not dare to imagine a path other than that of her parents. There was a large country house in Derbyshire, Lytton Strachey wrote in his classic Lives of Eminent Victorians. There was another in the New Forest. There were the Mayfair rooms for the London season and all its finest parties. There were tours on the continent with even more than the usual number of Italian operas and glimpses of the celebrities of Paris. Brought up among such advantages, it was only natural to suppose that Florence would show a proper appreciation of them by doing her duty in that state of life unto which it had pleased God to call her. In other words, by marrying, after a fitting number of dances and dinner parties, an eligible gentleman, and living happily ever afterwards. For 8 years, this call sat there in the recesses of Florence's mind like an elephant in the room, not to be addressed. Meanwhile, she was vaguely aware that not all was right in the Victorian world. Life expectancy was barely 40 years at birth. In many cities, mortality was higher for patients treated inside hospitals than outside them. In the Crimean War, where Nightingale would later distinguish herself, just 1,800 men out of some 100,000 troops died of their wounds. More than 16,000 died of disease. 13,000 more were rendered unable to serve. Even in peacetime, conditions were terrible. And to enlist was itself life-threatening. You might as well take 1,100 men out every year upon Salisbury Plain and shoot them, she once told officials. But as urgent as that crisis was, as fast as the altar of murdered men grew, the fear was far greater. There was China to look after, Strachey wrote. Her father expected her to read to him. She needed to find someone to marry. There was gossip to discuss. There was nothing to do, and that was all that a woman of means was allowed to do. Nothing. Barraged with this banal pressure, Florence ignored the call, afraid to let it intrude on polite society. Sure, she helped the occasional sick neighbor. She read books. She met interesting people like Dr. Elizabeth Blackwell, the first female doctor. But still, at 25, when she was offered an opportunity to volunteer at the Salisbury Hospital, she let her mother squelch it. Work in a hospital? Why, they'd sooner she become a prostitute.